All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our last methods training of our program year. This has been an awesome experience. Thank you all so much for joining in with us, to further your youth work, and taking that initiative. This isn't always the easiest line of work to do. So being, in this space with other people who are doing the same thing as you, and trading ideas and just being able to express yourselves and your experiences. This has been an awesome year. So you all have been great participants and great guests with us. So yeah, and we will be back in August, for another year of trainings and professional development opportunities. So look out for that. And so we are here today with Mr. Von Dotson, once again, our facilitator extraordinaire with our methods training. And so today is cooperative learning. And so as always with our BLOCS culture, please, if you could put in the chat your name and the name of the organization that you are representing. Your name and the organization that you are representing, please. And that's in the chat. And this is, will be very participatory and conversational. So if you don't, put your camera on, just make sure that you know where to identify your mute and unmute button. And remember, if you are not speaking to, please be on mute. But without further ado, I will go ahead and hand it over to Ms. Siobhan Dotson. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I feel like every day I'm like, what day is it? I have been completely confused this whole week, but it is Wednesday. So happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our training for today. We are going to be talking about cooperative learning. Before I share my screen, I am just looking at everyone popping into the chat, saying hello. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Kelsey from Neighborhood House. Good morning. Welcome, Juliana from Adelante Hispanic Achievers. Welcome, Levon from Prominent Youth of America. Welcome, Whitney from St. George's Scholar Institute. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our session today. I'm so glad that you're here. I cannot believe it is our last one of the year. Like Antonio, when you were just like, oh, it's the last one. I'm like, wait, what? It's May already. In my head, it's still October, December. I don't know. Like this time has really flown by, but I've really enjoyed being here with you all in this virtual space, learning from you, sharing with you. So I really thank you for rocking with me for the past couple of months. As we really explore these youth methods, right? And talk about how we can implement these things into programming. Good morning, Rose, the interim executive director from Peace Education Program. Well, hello and welcome. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. So disclaimer, everyone, I am working from a different computer than I have done in the past. So if something looks a little wonky, let me know. Go ahead and type it into the, there we go. Type it into the chat box there for me. Okay, so I'm trying to move all these things around. Okay, so good morning. Hello, this is me, right? Welcome. Cooperative learning is what we're going to talk about today during this time. And so I'm going to give you all just a quick, another quick disclaimer to let you know. I was just telling Antonio that I don't know, you all might get some of your time back today, especially because this is a smaller group. And we're going to go through some of these exercises, but I'm gonna tell you this, if it don't take a full 2 hours, I'm not going to make it take a full 2 hours, and I will give you your time back so that, you all can go get back to your busy lives and prep for Kentucky Derby and all the things. So I just wanted to give you that disclaimer right there. Here are our objectives for the morning. Participants will be able to define cooperative learning, understand how cooperative learning helps meet the social and intellectual needs of our youth, basically. We're going to talk about how to apply the 4 complementary strategies to engineer successful cooperative learning structures and gain some experience using a few different ways We're going to talk about how do you form groups, right? Like how do we structure groups? And I actually like going over this with people because it's, for me, what I have found to be really helpful when I'm thinking about lesson planning, right? And how I can utilize cooperative learning to really maximize participation and engagement in my programming, right? Like even in my sessions. So you can use cooperative learning strategies so many different places throughout programming. And for me, when I first kind of came aware of like, I can make lining up to go to the bathroom fun, right? Like I can make transitioning to the next activity, like I can make it really fun, I can make it intentional, and I can make it to where I keep students engaged at all times. It really opened up a whole new world for me. So we're going to dive into those objectives today. But before we really move any further, I want to do a quick mental health check-in, number one, and then we are going to do a quick icebreaker as well. So I want you all to let me know how you're feeling this morning, on this Wednesday morning. I know you all are in Kentucky. I am on the East Coast. I am in the DC area. So I'm not sure what your weather has been like, but I know for me, I feel like I don't know if it's winter, spring, or fall. I can tell y'all right now, like I don't know. I feel like I am surprised every morning I wake up. It is guesswork for me. So I want to ask you, we're going to use some weather analogies today. I'm going to ask you how you're feeling. Let me know if you are having a sunshiny type of day, right? Is it a sunshine day for you? Meaning that you woke up in a great mood, you got really great energy, you're ready to attack the day and really dive into this training. That's a sunshine day. Or are you having a partly cloudy day where you're just like, I know, so far I'm having some sunshine moments, but I'm still sleepy, or I'm just a little tired, or I'm still multitasking. So I'm just trying, my mind is kind of pulled in so many different directions. That's partly cloudy. Or are you having a stormy day right now where you're just like, look, Siobhan, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't wake up in the best mood. Right? Like this is today ain't the best day for me. That's, you're going through a little bit of a storm right now. And I want you to know, I am here to make space for whatever type of day that you're having. So go ahead and type into the chat for me. Are you having a sunshiny day? Are you having a partly cloudy day? Or are you having a stormy day? And you know what? Let me reframe that right quick and ask you, because we just got the day started. So I don't want to ask you to sum up your day and you just like, well, it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, so I don't know what type of day I'm having. So I'm going to ask you about the moment. What type of moment are you having right now? Is it a sunshine moment? Is it a partly cloudy moment? Is it a stormy moment right now? One thing I'm learning to do, especially during this little pandemic, is take things moment by moment and be like, even if it's not the best moment, I'm not going to say that the next moment won't be great. I see some answers coming in here. I'm going to stop share really quickly if I can figure out. Sorry. Okay. Let me stop share because this is not. Okay. I was trying to give y'all full screen action. Antonio, let me know, what are you all seeing right now?
I see an agenda page, and also
is it small?
No, I can see. I mean, it's not full screen, but I can see it.
Let me make it bigger. I was trying to give y'all full screen action, but it is not. Oops, that's too big. Okay, what about that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I was trying to give y'all full screen action, but anytime I make it full screen, I lose. I can't see my mouse, and I want to look at the chat. All right, so here we go. Whoever iPhone 936632 is, hey, welcome. iPhone says they are having a partly cloudy day. Totally understand. Welcome, iPhone. Antonio says he's having a sunny day. Kelsey says partly cloudy day. Juliana says a few clouds, but mostly sunny. Rose says the famous Buddhist saying, winter always turns to spring. So I am having a spring full of hope, sun rising moment. I love it. Oh. iPhone says it's Kenya. Well, hey, Kenya, and welcome. All right. Thank you all for letting me know just kind of how you're feeling this morning. If this is your first time participating in a training with me, you should, I'll let you know. I love to do mental health check-ins because I'm very transparent and honest with people to say, if I have people on a training who just like, sis, today ain't the day, I'm really not in a mood, I am not going to expect too much participation, right? Like I will say, hey, I get it. Maybe we'll just keep rocking and rolling. If people are just like, I'm just not having the best day. If people are, in really great moods, having great energy and, really looking to participate, I want to make sure that I make space for that as well. So I like to meet people where they are, which is why I do a check-in. I always do a mental health check-in just to see how you're doing, what your energy is like, how the vibe is going, and we go from there. So thank you for checking in with me. How am I feeling this morning? I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. It ain't a sunshiny day. I would be lying if I said that. I am so sleepy. It has been such a busy day for me. I'm definitely gonna say I'm having a partly cloudy day. I'm thinking I'm like Juliana, like mostly sunny, but definitely a few clouds in there. And those clouds are definitely clouds of sleep and tiredness. But I am here rocking and rolling with you all. And I promise you, I am going to give you all the energy that I have this morning during our time together. But man, oh man, I think I'm also having a bit of a partly cloudy day because our weather keeps going from like 70 something degrees and sunny to you turn your air conditioning on. And then when you wake up the next day, it's rainy and gloomy and cold outside. And man, it messes with my mood. I'm like, but it was just so nice yesterday. But I guess that's a reminder to enjoy the nice days while they last, right? The rain is sure to come one day. So I'm here today with you all. We're having a little bit of a chilly day here, but I'm gonna make the best of it, and we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. So here is our agenda for today. We did a welcome, and I'll give you all a little background about myself in a second as well. Then we're gonna dive right into like talking about cooperative learning. And does it really work? What is it, right? And then we're going to go over some strategies for cooperative learning, and then basically talk about how to implement it in your setting, in your program. We'll do a reflection, and we will close it out. Before we go any further, I'll give you a quick bio of me. Again, my name is Siobhan. I've been a trainer for, the last few years. I feel like these years, everything's just kind of flowing into one another. But I have been a trainer specifically with the Weichert Center and for the David P. Weichert methods. I've been training for the last like 3 years specifically on the methods. But in youth development, I have been in this field for 20 years. It is 2022. This is my 20th year in the field of youth development. It's a field that I got into right in college. As soon as I went to college, on my college campus, I was tutoring in after school programs and, working in their administration there. And it turned into working summer camp, and really just enjoyed working in that arena, so much so that at one point I was just like, I'm going to go to school to be a teacher. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to go to school to be a teacher. I changed my mind, but I'm so grateful for the field, the out of school time field, because I loved working with young people so much. I thought the only way to do it was education. I had no idea that we had this whole industry that is youth development, that is out of school time, where you can still have really great engaging relationships and do great work with our young people without necessarily having to be teachers. So I love and appreciate out of school time programming for that. I grew up in out of school time programming. It was something that we had to lean on. When we were growing up, I was at the Boys and Girls Club. I was at the community centers, right? My parents both worked several jobs. and my siblings and I needed safe places to go. So a lot of the times you could find us at our local Boys and Girls Club, participating in cooking class. Like I remember cooking classes at the Boys and Girls Club. I remember y'all, I don't know if y'all used to do this where you were at. We used like double dutch. Double dutch used to be the thing back in the day. So we would have double dutch competitions there. So my heart is always going to be with out of school time because of what it's meant in my life as a young person. But not only that, I'm also a mom and I have 2 kids and my oldest is 18. And I relied so heavily on out of school time programming for her entire life. It was my saving grace. I'm so appreciative for, the staff and the programs that exist because I know firsthand as well, like how important that is. And I've seen my daughter benefit from lots of opportunities that exist in the OST world. So I know this work. I'm passionate about this work. This work has been, such an integral part to my life, to my family life, and allowing me opportunities to build and grow, as a professional in my own right. So I'm so excited to be in this field as a trainer, connecting with professionals and really also helping to build up the next level of professionals as we talk about this, youth development work and how to really make sure we're always creating quality programming for our young people. So that is just a tidbit about me. I will say, you all, my daughter the other day did her, it was decision day. My daughter declared officially her college that she's going to. And so we are in full college mode to get her ready to go off to college. She is going to Towson University here in Maryland. And so we had so much fun celebrating that. We are gearing up for all the graduation things and just a really awesome moment right now. So I am really, really, really excited to, I'm always telling people, you just brag on your kids. So I will always find time and space to share and brag. And because I know we didn't get that accomplishment alone. That was definitely due to a lot of the programs, the OSC programs that she's participated in over the years and how, the opportunities that she's had come her way. So I'm really, really excited. And I know that what we do is great work. I know that what we do in this field is necessary work. I also know that it is life-changing work, not only for our families, but for our young people as well. All right, so let's get into this today. Few housekeeping things, and ignore the first 2. Really just take care of yourself. I always like to tell people that on these trainings, do what you have to do to take care of you. If you need to get up, if you need to walk away, do that, come back when you can. I do ask people just to engage fully as much as possible. If you can be here in this moment, in this time with us without feeling like you have to check 70 billion emails, I encourage you to do that. But if you also know that in order to maintain your mental health, you're like, let me check my emails over here and participate, do what you have to do. We definitely want to make space for that, but take care of yourself. Here is our pyramid right here. This is our program, our pyramid of program quality. This basically tells us that once we have all of these things present in our programming, we know that we can have quality programming, right? So at the core, the foundation of our youth programming, we know we want to see youth voice. That means we should have youth voice even in the governance of our program. We also want to make sure that we create a professional learning community, a space where us as professionals can come together, can learn, just like how we are doing right now. We can come, we can learn, we can talk, we can vent, we can grow, and we can talk about continuous improvement together. So then we have our safe environment, making sure things are emotionally safe, making sure programming is physically safe for our young people. Then we have our supportive environment domain, where we are providing that encouragement. We're, talking about reframing. We also have great session flow. We have some skill building, active engagement. Top of that, we have peer interactions. That is allowing our youth to experience a sense of belonging, allowing them to be in small groups, giving them the opportunity to lead and mentor, and partnering with adults. On top of that, you have youth engagement, making sure our youth have an opportunity to plan, to make choices, and to reflect. So if you've never seen this pyramid, thank you so much, Antonio. He went ahead and popped a PDF of that right into our chat there. I always tell people this is a great visual to kind of have for yourself as you're program planning, as you are doing program implementation, because it's just like, I know if I have all of these things that I know for a fact, we got some really great quality program going on. So cooperative learning, our session today is really going to be focused in the peer interaction domain. We're going to be talking about how to be in small groups, how to put them in small groups, how to work in small groups, how to facilitate small groups, and really the importance of that small group work. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, right here in this domain here. If you've ever taken and implemented the full PQA assessment, the Youth Program Quality Assessment tool, you know that in the peer interaction domain section, there are a lot of questions, that come up when we're talking about how our young people are working in small groups. Do they have the ability to work in small groups? What's the interaction with them working in small groups? So we're really going to talk about some of those things. And I invite you all on our session today, share your best practices, what works for you, what hasn't worked for you, what has worked for you in the virtual world, what works for you in the in-person world, as I feel like we're very much still in this hybrid space. I know a lot of programs are like, well, we're back at it in person, but I feel like in the back of everyone's mind, we're still just like, we need to be ready to switch to go hybrid on the drop of a dime. So that's why I tell people, I know we're still in this hybrid space. So we will talk a lot about what this needs to look like virtually, and also what we know it can look like in person. All right, so we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna stop share here. Oh no, I don't need to stop share. I'm actually just gonna pull this link. I'm gonna drop a link into the chat, and I want you to think about your own experiences. I want you to think about your experience with cooperative learning. So I'm going to grab this, and we're going to do a Slido poll. There we go. So there's a Slido poll there. I want you to click that. It's going to take you to a question. And our question is, I'm also going to drop this question into the chat, just for anyone who can't access that poll. So here's our question. I want you to think about a time when you facilitated a group experience for young people. Put yourself back to when, like, all right, when I facilitate groups for our young people, like I remember what I was doing. I know exactly what we did. I want you to go back to that time. And I want you to list for me, what were some of your challenges there as a leader? What challenges did you feel like you faced as a leader? Go ahead and type those in for me. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. I see some answers coming in, so I'll give you about another minute. Okay. All right, so some answers coming in here. People say engagement. Whoo, don't I know, right? Yes, engagement, communication. Someone else says they had a lot of energy. They were antsy, very talkative throughout. Looking at the chat here, Kenya says, maybe not fully cooperating for me, I guess. No, Kenya's talking about the Slido. Kenya, you can just type it in the chat. You can type your answer in the chat. Rose says, making sure materials were relevant, connecting with each student. Yes. Someone says time frames. Oh yeah, student engagement, group sizes. All very relevant. all very valid challenges. So if anyone is interested and available, I would love for someone to go off mute and tell us a little bit more about this challenge you typed when you're thinking about, facilitating a group experience for young people. Expand a little bit on, what that challenge looked like for you.
Okay, I'll go since I'm sunny today.
I love it.
All right, my background, I'm a retired school teacher in the JCPS, Jefferson County Public Schools assistant principal. And so I've worked, now I'm working with Peace Education Program, which is a nonprofit, but I also worked with another nonprofit called The Beach, which was a tutoring center located in a public housing sector in Louisville. And I'm a high school person where, my main focus has been high school, but then in working with the 501c3s, I was also engaged with kindergarten readiness K through 12. So then it's like, okay, how do I, number one, I really believe that pre-assessment is important as much as possible. You got to know where your students are, and also have a goal. Think about what you were wanting to accomplish at the time, whether it's in social emotional learning, math, reading, or science. But I found out that, while it's each student is, well, it's a group, it's like you got to really quickly, almost on the fly, assess where everyone is at the time, and mentally, and then steadily kind of almost like grabbing their minds in a certain way, so that they feel immediately incorporated to the whole. And I mean, I guess it depends on how many students you have, but it's like you got to feel your audience. That's one way of putting it. So I think being prepared, and then also whatever it takes to make the personal connection is important. And then, which is extremely important, is setting the rules right from the beginning. Now, over at Peace Education, for example, the way I got introduced to it was doing peer mediation at the high school called Ballard High School here in Louisville. And I was kind of amazed, number one, that high school students could kind of be a part of this mediation, because as assistant principal, I was kind of, used to bringing the hammer down, so to speak. Almost some things even felt like punitive, which they were punitive. But I was really, really just so, I guess you could say it was an aha moment for me to teach the skills that, Peace Education Program had taught about conflict resolution, and then watch it in action with young people. And I think that's the reason that fast forward pulled me into now stepping into the void of being the interim executive director, because I saw it in action in real time, 2013, 14, 15, and then realize, and you put the tools out there, you set it up, you give the parameter, and you explain the expectations. Children will learn.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. First of all, I am such a fan of peer mediation, y'all. Like, I love peer mediation. I think it is such a great conflict resolution tool. I always speak about it in trainings, and it's not something that I participated in high school, but we did it in elementary school. I remember utilizing that, and it was just, I loved it. So I love when people still talk about, peer mediation and watching our young people, right? We teach them a skill, we give them the tools, and we trust that they will be able to be the ones who can resolve the conflict amongst their peers. So I'm such a fan of peer mediation, and I'm so happy to hear that, it's been sticking around and people are still implementing that. So thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. And I agree with you when we think about group work, right? Facilitating group experiences. Yeah, you do kind of have to figure out where everyone is and try to, we're trying to meet everyone on their levels, and you don't have that much time to say where's the need here. So thank you for sharing that. I saw Levon typed into the chat as well. A challenge making sure every student fully comprehends the material. Yes, I feel like, yep, that's kind of going right along what Ms. Rose was talking about as well. And then that preparedness, I heard Ms. Rose say, like, we have to be prepared. And the preparedness piece in cooperative learning for me is so important. I remember being introduced to these methods and, you know, having to be challenged with, like, now go off and teach them and implement them. And at first, cooperative learning for me was just like, wait a minute. I'm like, you know, you're asking me to think through a lot of different pieces of my curriculum and my lesson planning. I'm like, pieces that in my head, like, why do I have to plan out every single aspect, every single transition, every piece of, you know, working with it? Like, why do I have to plan that out? I didn't really understand it at first until I started to make the connections and then implement the strategies to see the difference, because it really is about being prepared. The more that you can just be prepared on the front end to deal with the different personalities, the more strategies you have, the more skills you can pull out of your toolbox to be able to work through engagement and meeting their needs in the social emotional sense as well, the better you will be able to really have that high quality programming. So thank you. I want to make space too, if anyone else, we'll take one more. If one more person wants to share their experience here about our question, you know, we're talking about a time when you facilitated a group experience and just some of the challenges that you may have experienced as a leader. Anyone else want to share there?
Well, I can share.
Yes.
Yeah, I've worked with a group of youth. This is in the past, I mean, a few years back. And I think the biggest struggle is to connect with them, you know, like just know what their needs are and just be able to read them like daily, because it was like a summer camp, and then every day was just kind of hard to read where were their emotions, and we try to do games, and it was a very experienced and forward experienced at camp, but it was just hard to get that engagement and again, like, be able to find the right communication. So I struggle with that because I'm a teacher myself. So I find that I'm a more like structured person when I come to, you know, teach youth. But when I'm in a group setting, when it's more than just the one-on-one, I find that I struggle a little bit with being able to connect with them, because I feel like I'm still in the teacher mode. So I guess I just you know, need to find strategies that will let me interact with them in a more fun way. So that's kind of what have been my experience.
Thank you for sharing that and bringing that perspective to the table, because I think you bring up a really good point about when you're so accustomed, you know, to like it being so structured and things needing to look a certain way. I think that is a real challenge people can experience, to say, all right, well, now I'm trying to switch off maybe, you know, teacher mode and hop into a little bit more of a fun mode, and how, you know, and how can I do that? And I really want to engage with them and interact with them and connect with them in this different way. But sometimes those challenges can present itself. So thank you. That's actually a really good perspective.
Can I add to what she was saying just a second ago?
Absolutely.
One thing that I found very engaging is to go in with the structure that you have, but then reformat your structure to actually fit the students that you're working with. So a lot of times, like, you may have something that is academically overwhelming or too informative, whether it's like it changes the monotony of the room where that the focus changes. So if it's something that's creative and engaging, then it's more different fun elements to it. If it's real compacted with a lot of different learning and stuff like that, then the kids tend to disengage because they are in auditory mode, meaning they're just listening, but they're not expected to immediately interact or something like that. So that's one thing that I learned in working with the youth is separating them based off of their individual skill sets, couple the ones that have similar characteristics, the ones that, and then another thing is this too, with doing youth programming, we may not exactly know that some of these students may have like IEPs or different levels of learning disorders, or maybe even emotional behavior disorders. Because when they sitting in a group of like probably 10, 15 kids, you're looking at 10 to 15 kids without being judgmental. But when you start being more interactive with the kids and asking call and response questions, through call and response, you get a feel for who is vocal, who may be shy, who may need to be prompted a little more. And then when you're implementing your structurized programming, then the stuff that's scaled up for students that are high level or high functioning, then you would create a structure based on them. Then for the ones that's low functioning or whatever, not to say that, but to help acclimate them up, you would just create or reorganize your structured components to engage the youth, to acclimate them to a level where they can be put back into a group and all be on the same page. And I say that because in our organization, we teach kids about copyrights. We teach them about performance rights organizations, which is like copyright forms are like visual arts forms or literary works forms or sound recording forms. And the performance rights organizations is like songwriting applications where they have to fill out. Now, all of this stuff is super boring, but it has to be done. It's imperative that it gets done. So I create different simulated ways to actually make sure that each individual kid fully understands what they are learning and are fully engaged in the activities that we are presenting.
Thank you, Levon, for sharing that. I love how you said, like, hey, this material, we know it's boring, right? But it's necessary. So we find different ways to really meet them on their level and make it fun and do what we need to do to kind of get them to the level where we're asking them to get to. So thank you so much for that insight and that feedback. And Juliana typed into the chat, thank you, and said that was true as well. Really appreciate it. I see Kenya was able to get access to the question in the chat and was saying some challenges there, always assuring the students are enthusiastic, engaged, and comprehend the material, as well as maintaining all of the above that was mentioned. So we're gonna shift to, thank you all for that. I'm gonna, instead of doing the slide, I'm gonna just type this into the chat and you all can answer there. So here's another question. Again, we're still thinking about group facilitation. We talked about some of the challenges of group facilitation. I want you to shift gears now, and I want you to think about what are some of the highlights for you as a leader? What were some of the highlights for group facilitation? Go ahead, and I'm going to give you a minute. Type that into the chat for me. All right, I see these answers coming in now, so I want to go ahead and give you all a little bit more time, about 30 more seconds. All right, so our question here, what were some highlights for you as a leader when we're thinking about group facilitation? All right, Antonio says, when the youth exceed my expectation. Oh, yes. Kelsey says, seeing the growth of the youth. I love that. Levon says, completion of project activities, seeing the youth explain to others, to the other youth how to do something, or sharing information with parents regarding the impact of what they've learned. Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Kenya says, watching the youth come alive and have discussions amongst one another. Oh, this is great. Juliana says how creative they can be and how well organized they can get when they feel comfortable in the space. Oh, yes. Rose says, knowing that you make the connection and feeling like the students left with some knowledge, some skills to strengthen their lives. Yes. And then Renee says, one highlight for group facilitation is seeing the aha moments when the youth identify with the material presented and they become eager to share. I love it. Yes, I really love these. And I would say many of these, I'm the same way with a lot of these. I love to see the aha moments. I do love it when our young people go exclaim to their parents exactly like how much fun they had or what they learned, right? As soon as parents come pick up, they're just like, oh my goodness, I have to tell you what we did today. You see that excitement, or parents come back like, my child was talking on and on. Like, I've had parents coming to me and be upset at me because they was just like, look, Miss Siobhan, my child is having a little bit too much fun because that's all they talk about right now. Like, if I hear about what y'all doing, this experiment, this project, right? It's like, if I hear about this one more time. And so it makes me laugh. But I do feel like I love that aspect of, group facilitation as well. You see them working cohesively together. Yes. Thank you. Ms. Rose says, what I learned through the experience. Yes, absolutely. So we're talking about, we are talking about cooperative learning and what that can look like. And we've shared some highlights. We've shared some challenges. Now I want to pose this question. We're thinking about how it felt as a leader. I want you to put yourself in, the shoes of your adolescent self. When you were participating in group experiences as a youth, what were some of the challenges for you as a young person? What were some of your challenges when you were participating in group experiences as a youth? I'll give you a minute to type that into the chat for me. See some answers coming in, so I'll give you all about 30 more seconds with that. All right, Antonio says, I wasn't a popular youth, so I was in the back a lot, or I was in trouble and was excluded. Okay. So not even really fully participating, maybe. Renee says, no one in the room looked like me. Wasn't until I was a little older that I began to see other representation in the opportunities I was afforded. Very important. Juliana says, I feel like I didn't have someone to motivate me. There was a lot of expectations on me, but no motivation. Well, that's a really good perspective there. Thanks. Donana says, I often felt like my ideas were not valid. Ooh, a negative teacher response. Okay, these are so good. So we're thinking about our own experiences of participating in a group, right? Like, what was it like when we were a young person participating in group work? And I feel like these experiences you all have highlighted here are so valid. Levon says, I was and still have antisocial tendencies. Levon, I am right there with you. Like, you all, seriously, to this day as an adult, I can't stand group work. I do not. I don't like group projects. I don't like group work. I know all the benefits of working in small groups and turning talks and all of that, but it's not my favorite. And I know it's not my favorite based on my experiences that I had with with group work as a young person, right? So as we're thinking about these experiences we had as young people, when it comes to like being a part of a group, I see people saying, hey, I was excluded. I didn't even get to fully participate because I was in trouble, or, I was just in the back. No one made sure that I was, kind of like fully immersed into it. So, people are talking about representation. There was no representation there. People are saying, there were lots of expectations. Nobody was motivating me. My ideas or my experiences were not valid. They weren't validated by my teacher. I kept getting these negative responses. See, Renee says, speaking out or participating often made me, the butt of jokes, the who does she think she is type of comments. Oh, that's a good one. So let me, when we're thinking about our experiences, what are some ways in which we can circumvent these things from happening to our young people? Like, how can we prevent our young people from feeling like there is no motivation? What are we doing to motivate our young people in group work? What are we doing to make sure our young people feel like their ideas are valid? What are we doing to provide the safe space so no one feels like they're the butt of the joke, right? What are we doing to say, like, everyone is included? So, and this is open for discussion. Please feel free to unmute yourself or type into the chat. I definitely want to explore this. What do we do to make sure that other people, our young people, aren't feeling the same things that we felt? I see Denana says, I was in college when I had my first real group experience. It was negative, unfortunately. Oh man, I'm telling y'all, to me, college and group work is like the worst ever in my head. Like it's definitely not great experiences. Right. So that's a good point too, Denana. Thank you. Like when we think about our older youth, do we really help set up our older youth to have really great group work experiences? Renee says, I try to do things outside of the box. For instance, speaking from the back of the room versus the front of the room to make everyone feel included. I love that. Not always being at the front of the room, like moving around the room, being in the back, speaking from there. I love that.
And I'll jump in there. I think one thing, that's pretty foundational to it all is being intentional. Like intentionality goes a long way. So for being intentional with the inclusion of everyone who is in the space, that goes a long way. So we can plan something, to have all kinds of fun, but if everybody's not included, then it's not going to be a fun experience for everybody. So just being intentional that we know that there are lots of diverse people within the space and being able to include everybody within the group experience.
I love it. Yes. Renee, go ahead.
It was ironic. I was typing inclusive as he was saying it, and I'm like, get out of my head. The community center, I'll put an S on that because I have 2 centers now that I run. We have people that would always cower to the back. So that's where that moving to the back of the room was born. And I'm goofy by nature. So I bring my goofy to my teen spaces because once I'm goofy, it relaxes them. And I will, even if I'm teaching, I will plop down in a seat. Well, before COVID, I would plop down in a seat right beside them, and I could still be speaking to the room, but I'm leaning into one of them and forcing them to engage. So now we're both awkward. So it involves everybody because now everybody's laughing. And once I've gotten that shield down, I'm like, I've got them. And then we proceed from there, and it kind of moves around the room. So this person, it's like that attention. Everybody wants attention. And if they don't get the positive, they'll get the negative. So the way that I had to figure that out is to get the leader, who's the ringleader of the ones that are disturbing the meeting, and engage them. And once you engage them, the others will follow because they want the attention as well. So I'm very intentional when I facilitate my meetings, and I try to be as inclusive as possible, recognizing that all of us are the sum total of our experiences. So if I've got somebody in the room that has been picked on and made fun of, that's what they're bringing to this group session. And it's trying to find those creative ways to get that person involved and included. And for me, it's laughter. So
I love it. Yes, the inclusion piece, right? Making sure everyone is included, making the space for that. And I love how you all talked about the intentionality behind it. And we're going to explore that in our, in our time together as well. So we're talking about cooperative learning, and thank you everyone for sharing. So what is cooperative learning, right? I keep throwing this term around. So let's define it. Let's give it a definition. So basically cooperative learning, it's purposeful learning that's structured and coordinated, right? And it's facilitated by us, the facilitator, where we allow our youth to work interdependently with one or more peers. So a purposeful learning environment that's structured, we coordinate it, we facilitate it, but we're doing that in order to allow our young people to work together, to work a little bit more interdependently with one or more peers. Yes, absolutely. And so I want you all to let me know what words are jumping out at you when you look at this definition. Go ahead and type those into the chat. I know Antonio typed in interdependently, right? Like that's jumping out for him. What words are jumping off the page for you when you look at this definition of cooperative learning? Structure. I love it. And I love that you typed that, Juliana, because you're right. If we're saying it's structured, so it's not something that is haphazard. Cooperative learning isn't something that should just be on a whim, right? We really have to create a structure for that to happen. Okay, it says thinking about support, right? Supporting our young people through this. Donana says listening carefully to each participant, validating the student's contribution. Yeah. Right, so when we look at this definition, some keywords here: purposeful. We talked about that. It has to be intentional, right? Like group work and creating the environment for small group work to happen. Man, it has to be something that is intentional, because we know everybody needs to be included. It has to be intentional, coordinated. We have to coordinate it. And that's something for me. I had an aha moment when I was like taking this training and really thinking about coordinating small group work. I was just like, wait, why would I do that? And then when I saw it happen, I was just like, man, this makes so much sense. And we're going to talk about the importance of the coordination. Facilitated, right? It's something that we have to really be the ones that's trying to create the space for it. And again, interdependently, one or more peers. We're doing that not so that we can be the leaders, not so that we can be in charge. We're doing that so our young people, they can take charge and they can go ahead and work with one another, and they can really have the space to feel comfortable to dive into this work with each other. Ms. Rose typed, yep, mutual respect, right? Yep, problem solving, well thought out, a lot of planning, absolutely. So let's think about the benefits of cooperative learning here. One of the first benefits, motivation. Someone talked about motivation, earlier. They typed it into the chat and was just like, hey, like I felt like when I was asked to do this group work, there were a lot of expectations. There wasn't a lot of motivation. So some benefits of cooperative learning: motivation. There's a study, there was some research done by Glassner in 86 who said that, students like to connect with one another. There's research done about that to say students actually, They want to come in here. They want to connect with one another. They want to be friends. They want to come in the program and find other people who have similar interests. And we know, like, our young people want to get in here. They want to talk. They want to talk to one another, right? They want to develop higher levels of trust. They want to feel safe. They want to feel emotionally safe, right? They want to feel like this is a safe space for them to take risks, for them to share their ideas. And when we do cooperative learning, when we create cooperative learning opportunities, we provide the motivation for that to happen. But again, we know we have to be purposeful. We have to be intentional. We have to coordinate that. Retention of facts. Retention of information is closely linked to the concept of people talking and learning through one another, communicating in group discussion. I know that is definitely true for me. I feel like I can retain information more when I can talk about it, share my ideas, or even hear another person's perspective, or we dive into the material and I'm like, oh, okay, like now it makes sense to me. Maybe they explained it in a way that helped it make sense, or maybe it was an opportunity for me to talk through it until it made sense to me. That is something that helps me retain facts instead of someone just, typing something or throwing it up on the board and say, well, this is the fact, this is the information, learn it. No, like I need a discussion about it. I need to, explore my ideas further around it. So retention of facts is definitely a benefit. Academic achievement. It says more than 70 high quality studies have been done and evaluated when we think about cooperative learning methods, right? And out of the 70 studies that were conducted, 67 of those studies, what they did was they measured the effects of cooperative learning on their student achievement, student academic achievement. So they said, let's look at, of these studies, let's look at students who have great high academic achievement, who got these cooperative learning strategies, right? Let's look at how they performed versus students who didn't have that. And what they saw was that students who have cooperative learning strategies implemented, they were able to have better academic achievements. They were better, able to perform a little bit better in school. Yes, Antonio, type learning is a social function. Absolutely. So we know cooperative learning, and how do we know this? Well, if we look at fact number 2, benefit number 2, it helps the retention of facts. It helps the retention of information. So if it's just like, if it's going to aid into the retention of information, making this make sense to students, we can deduce that there may be an opportunity for some academic achievements there. Number 4, intergroup relations. We know that cooperative learning really helps us figure out how to work with one another, like how to have relationships. For me, this pandemic, and I don't know about you all, but I've gotten a lot of feedback here. This pandemic, I feel like, highlighted the importance of intergroup relations, because when the pandemic hit, then we were all stuck in our own bubbles. And I think I learned how much I craved more social interaction. I craved being able to get into a group. I craved being able to be around other people, right? It was just like, man, like I did not realize this was really that important to me. And I know some people are just like, they miss working in the office. Just like some students, they miss actually being in the classroom because it was such an important function for them. Yes, Antonio says intergroup relations promote diversity and inclusion. Absolutely. And of course, we're talking about, making sure that we're creating an inclusive environment, allowing people to get to learn about one another. When we know that these small group discussions take place, when we, create an opportunity for cooperative learning to happen, there's so much more to learn there. Students get to discussing what they like, what they don't like, their families, their backgrounds, how they learn. We get to recognize differences, right? We get to say, okay, well, your family is very different from my family, but that's okay. Like, thank you for teaching me about that. That sounds interesting. I've not experienced that, but that sounds, like that sounds cool. So it's really aiding in that inclusiveness. Number 5, individual control. Positive intergroup relations, really help people be able to gain better self-awareness, right? Self-management. We're talking about self-regulation. So basically, like giving our students an opportunity to be able to be a little bit more in control of themselves as an individual, because you have to be put in situations where you can't talk all the time. You can't be the one always dominating the conversation. You have to learn how to share space, right? Cooperative learning, when we think about our smaller students, we teach them how to share. You can't learn how to share if there's nobody for you to share. I have a 1-year-old, he's a 1.5, and he's not in daycare. He doesn't get that social interaction like that right now. And one thing that we realized and we started seeing, little dude don't know how to share. It was like, oh, he does this. Sharing is not his thing. He believes, because he's in an environment where that promote that for him. We're just like, no, all of these toys are mine and mine alone. I don't have to share. And so we realized, hey, it's important for us to create some cooperative learning opportunities for him so he can learn how to have more individual control of his emotions. He can learn how to be able to say, this is mine, but I want to share. Same thing with our young people. We know cooperative learning provides opportunities for them to learn more about themselves, learn how to trust themselves, learn how to be able to figure out, some more self-regulation strategies, even in their behavior. So, one person can't just dominate everything. Number 6, effects on high achieving students. Oftentimes when we take this collaborative approach, sometimes we might see that when we really allow our students an opportunity to take ownership of their learning, in a sense, like take a little bit more responsibility and, a little bit more leadership in their own learning, that there is so much that they can gain from it. Our high achieving students, oftentimes we can give them opportunities to mentor some of our students where we want to provide opportunities for them to kind of be brought up to another level, scaffolding the information and saying, hey, okay, Judy, you finished early, you got it. Instead of you just sitting there, I want you to go and work with, Sally over here. Go work with Sally and help Sally kind of, get the information, have some discussion, allowing our students the opportunity to have those leadership moments. Because sometimes I've noticed too, like our young people, they hear it differently when it's explained to them from a peer versus what I, as the adult, said. Because I've oftentimes been in front of our students and like, I just said the same thing. But they receive it differently. I say that to my daughter all the time. I'll say something to her, and then like a peer of hers will say the same thing a little different, maybe in better language, in language she understands. And she's like, oh yeah, that does make sense. I'm sitting here like, I promise you, I literally just said that. But right, like they need to hear it from someone who's in their age bracket, who speaks their language. So that's an opportunity for students to learn from one another, for them to create a collective pool of knowledge. And then when we think about number 7, the effects on our shy and introverted students. I've heard you all bring this up about the inclusiveness. I know me, when I go into a large group, like most people don't realize this about me, I am very introverted. If I go into a space, I am going to the back of the room, right? I'm fading into the background. I am not the one that's about to be, hey, listen to me, look at me. Like I will be in a group and never say anything because I'm very introverted. I'm not shy, but I am introverted. And if no one makes me feel included, if the space doesn't make me feel included, I'm gonna stay to my introverted self. And I have seen that happen to our young people, our students, in our programs, in our classrooms, when we say, hey, if we don't create the inclusive environment, our introverted students, our shy students, they will sit in class and never say a word. Right? And then they won't feel included. And then they don't feel like their ideas are valid. Have you all ever, and feel free to type yes or no into the chat, have you all ever had to deal with a lot of introverted or shy students in your programs? Go ahead and type yes or no into the chat. And if you're saying yes, I have had to deal with them. I'd love to hear, how have you fostered an environment where you really can keep them engaged? Renee says, yep, team building activities, force individuals out of their comfort zone. Yes. And we're going to talk about those. And that's part of the strategy, right? Making sure that we are coordinating these opportunities, because if it's up to introverted and shy students, they will never participate, right? So we have to create the opportunities. We have to make sure that we're intentional with it, and structure those opportunities for them. Rose says, yes, make it a personal connection. Juliana says, working with their own expectations. Renee says, everyone is a creature of habit and we migrate to like-minded individuals. Yes. Antonio says, created opportunities for nonverbal communications. Oh, yes. Kelsey says, we love team building activities. We also try to help the shy students make those connections with their peers, being intentional to help make those connections. Kelsey says, I get it. I was that shy student. Yeah. And I love, Antonio, you highlighted the nonverbals. I think nonverbal cues and nonverbal communications are so essential in creating an inclusive environment, because even when whether I'm doing trainings virtually, whether I'm in person, I recognize that there are so many different ways for people to communicate and to connect, and it's not always through the verbal. We can create those inclusive opportunities for connection to happen, for learning to take place, for inclusion, by setting nonverbal cues, or thumbs up, hands up, high fives, put a smile on your face. I love the virtual world because these emojis, I love the emojis. I use emojis all the time, and I always tell people, like, that is a form of communication. That is a way that people can communicate with you without ever using any words. And sometimes that makes people feel more comfortable because they're like, I don't have the words. Rose says, sometimes using a personal story to connect. Levon says, utilizing team building and technology. I love it. I love the use of technology into this. That's why I love utilizing polls, and sometimes we use Kahoot and all of these other apps and stuff like that, because people don't have to say anything. They're like, well, I can type it. I can feel included because I can type it and it can show up, and I can be anonymous, or, I don't actually have to say anything. Denana says, I believe that the student age can be a barrier to cooperative learning. Factors such as peer pressure, self-confidence, language, knowledge, all play a part in whether the kiddo will participate in the lesson. True. And we can still try to create those opportunities for them. But peer pressure is very real. Their confidence. I love how you highlighted language. That's why I love the nonverbal. I love when we talk about like utilizing nonverbal communication. I have had to teach classes in a room for people, with people who do not speak the language at all. Like they're leaning on a peer or someone to translate for them. You can see them getting frustrated, but we started using like nonverbal cues and, like picking up and point. And it's just like, oh, okay, I get it now. Just really helping them be able to feel like they can communicate in the best way that they can. So I love, love, love how you highlighted language, because oftentimes our young people don't have the language sometimes to really express how they're feeling, right? Or it really express what they want to communicate. I struggle with that, and I'm grown. So I know our young people, don't necessarily always have it together either. So this is great. Awesome. So I want to get into these strategies, cooperative learning strategies. So the first thing we want to do is create multiple opportunities. We want to create multiple opportunities for cooperative learning to take place. The second thing, we want to plan and establish goals. And so we talked about that, like in order for cooperative learning to be successful, we know that we really have to plan this out. You cannot show up and be like, all right, y'all, I guess we just gonna do some group work today. All right, everybody get in the group. Like, I used to hate when teachers be like, all right, y'all group up. If I am the introverted, shy student, I promise you, I'm in the back looking around like, is anybody gonna pick me? Right? Like, I don't even know these people. Whose group do I navigate to? I hated that. Like, I hated that. Even now, as a grown-up, if someone says, hey, everyone, pair yourselves up, group yourselves up, I will literally just stand there. I know myself well enough to know I'm just going to stand there. So we have to actually plan these things out. We have to establish what are our goals for cooperative learning. And we need to promote the collaboration. Really encourage people to like work with someone you've not worked with before. Work with someone who has a blue shirt on, you know what I'm saying? Work with, really just create those opportunities for them to connect and collaborate in a different way. And then an important cooperative learning strategy is for us to make sure that we are including reflection and feedback times. Giving our young people like real intentional opportunities to give their own feedback in the group, so we can make sure not one person is just dominating the conversation. Teaching them those strategies so that when they're working inside of their groups, kind of like peer mediation. If I teach you the skill set, you can go off and implement it, and you'll be able to really model this in your group work. Same thing with cooperative learning. I want to teach you a skill. I want to teach you, how to have great reflection. I want to teach you how to have great feedback. So when you go off in your groups, you'll be able to do it. So I'm going to share with you all some group formers and group structures. Group formers are just that, like different things that we can utilize to help form our groups. Again, I just told you all, I am not a fan of the like, all right, we're about to work in groups. Go ahead and get you all decide, get in a group, because I know that doesn't promote collaboration. That's not going to create the inclusiveness. We also know sometimes if we leave our students, our young people to their own devices to line up or get in a group or whatever, sometimes chaos can ensue. Everybody running, chairs knocked over, somebody done got hurt. So there are ways that we can be intentional. We can make it fun, but we can also make it very inclusive. And then once they're in the group, once we have our group formers, they're in the group, then we have to teach them how to structure their group, right? Teaching our young people, giving them the skill to say, let's identify how you all are actually going to work collaboratively inside your group. So giving them a purpose to the group work, that's like establishing a goal. Giving them a structure, how they can provide reflection, how they can provide feedback. So it's, cooperative learning twofold. We want to form the group. We want to be intentional. We want to be purposeful. We want to be structured there, even in forming the group. But we also want to be informative. I mean, we want to be, inclusive, and we want to be collaborative, and we want to be intentional with how the group works. Some things that they're going to do. So I'm going to share some, let me grab this. I'm going to share this link, drop it right here in the chat to give you all access to, and I'm also going to share this on my screen. We're going to talk about these group formers. Here we go. All right, so here are some examples of group formers and group structures. Yes.
Really quick, it's saying that we need access.
Oh, thank you.
For me, I need access.
Let me change that anyway with the link. Okay. Copy link. Refresh. Try it now. See, I'm gonna drop this link in the chat again too.
It's good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that, Antonio. All right. So here we are, some group formers and some group structures. So what I want you all to do now, I want you all to keep this open for me. And I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. And I want you all to identify, hold on, let me make one change here because these are group formers. I want you all to get in your breakout rooms. You all are going to identify one group former, like go over this list, talk about it. I'm going to give you about 7 minutes to do so. You're going to go through these, you're going to talk about them, and then you are going to identify one group former and one group structure you're going to present to us. And you're going to tell us like how you all would implement. How would you implement your group former? How would you implement your group structure? All right, so I'm going to put you in these breakout rooms. Again, keep this open because you all are going to go through this. You're going to look at it. You'll have about 7 minutes. And you all are going to choose as a group, one group former and one group structure. If you scroll on down, you'll see the group structures there. You're going to choose one group former, one group structure. You're going to present that to us and tell us how you all would implement the group former, how you would implement the group structure. Do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you all are good to go and you're clear on what we're about to do next. Perfect. I see thumbs up. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to open these up. Let me set my timer here. All right, the rooms are open. Go ahead, and then I will see you in 7 minutes. To the main room. So they will, in about 30 more seconds, our other group will hop back into the main room with us. And then I'm going to have you all share out.
Sounds good.
So we'll give them about 10 more seconds.
All right.
Perfect.
Oh, we're back already.
Listen, I know. I'm glad that you all were having, listen, anytime somebody tells me, oh, we back, that lets me know there was some good conversation going on. And I love to hear it. But we are back. And so now what I want to do, we had 2 groups. I want to have each group present. So I want you all to tell me which group former you chose and which group structure you chose. And I want you to tell me like, how would you all implement that? All right, so we have group 1. In group 1, we had Danana, Juliana, Renee, and Rose. So I'm gonna pass the ball to you all and let us know which ones you chose and any discussion that you had around it that you thought, you'd wanna share and how you would implement that.
I will speak on what we chose. We chose Earth, Wind, and Fire, the elements. It gets outside of the norm, introduces them to some old school. Miss Livingston even suggested using Earth, Wind, and Fire's music as a tool, which is awesome. What am I forgetting? Miss Rose, I'm gonna let you take it from there as how we would implement it.
Okay, I had to unmute. Okay, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, we thought everything could be a teachable moment, and it's kind of a chance, to kind of just share some musical history a little bit. But one of the things that was mentioned about this particular one was if there was a shy student, since you have the bus stop and you have different categories that they would get a chance to choose maybe what they felt the most comfortable with. and migrate to that particular area. Of course, once there, everything has to be intentional. It's like even visiting each area and making sure that, the rules of the game, as far as, how to report out and so forth, make sure that everyone understands, the process. And then of course, the end product of reporting back out. Anyone in the group want to add any more to that? Seemed like it was something else we talked about with that. One of the things was interesting was the term farmer. We worked with cooperative groups for a long time, but the term group farmers, that was kind of like a new way to describe it for some of us.
I mentioned to the group that with younger kids, it might be more beneficial to use a hip hop group that they relate to, and the only name I could come up with was, and he's not a group, Justin Bieber, but all the middle school, elementary school too, they love some Justin Bieber. So that might be something that might be able, that they would be able to relate to easier than Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then also understanding about Earth, Wind, and Fire, they would hopefully be able to connect with their grandparents, and they could mention it at the table. Yeah, we talked about some Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then, Granny's going to say, oh, yeah, that's my jam. So anyway.
I love that. I love how you all talked about all the different opportunities to make these connections, both in programming and also outside of programming as well. And one of the things that I love, you all talked about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I know you all mentioned like the bus stop, right? I also love using music, like playing music and talking about music. I definitely think that's a really great connection tool. So I love how you all were like, make some connections from something that I relate to, also utilize things for what they relate to. And yeah, like they know all of these groups. Like I'm telling you, I couldn't name some of these rap groups or groups or people. I couldn't, I really couldn't do it. But I've done famous trios before as a group former. And I have different trios, and some of them are trios like they have no clue. So it's hilarious to do famous trios if you're saying like one person has earth, someone else has wind, someone else has, fire, and they're looking like, I don't understand what this is. Right? I used to use the Golden Girls as famous trios, and you would hear these students call out like, what is rose? Right? Like, why do I have, and they had no clue. They're just calling out these names, and it would just be hilarious to me. But when I would have the groups that they recognize, what is it? Quavo, Offset, they would be like, okay, so they would have these connections, or I would be like Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, or, like for them, they were like, okay, like that's a connection for them. Even though they would have no clue what some of the other ones were, but it would open up the opportunity for discussion. So thank you so much for sharing, how you all would use this. And I love the connections there. All right, group 2, we had Kenya, Levon, and I know Antonio had hopped in that group. So you all let us know what you all talked about, your group formers and your group structure.
Yeah, we didn't get to the group structure part, but we did some discussion around the group farmer. We chose milling to the music, and I will let Levon and Kenya talk about those approaches. So Levon had a good strategy, and then Kenya had one as well.
Well, I said music because we chose music because it appeals to the youth and it keeps them going, gets the blood flowing, keeps them engaged and excited. Is specifically something to what was just previously mentioned as far as how it appeals to them and it relates. It gets them excited, and you can use that as a tool to for further dialogue. Like I said, just fully to keep them engaged. And they'll be excited and use it.
Mm-hmm.
It can go further in their own lives and others and how they view life.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Lavon, did you want to add anything for your group?
If he doesn't, I guess he might be preoccupied at the moment, but he had mentioned like using TikTok for the music part, as you know, they know the dances with the music and stuff like that. So incorporating TikTok into that space as well.
I love that, right? Like it's because that speaks to something that they're interested in. And we know that when we talk about things that these kids is interested in, they're going to want to participate. They're going to want to engage. And if I see one more kid with their phone set up, you know, like in the bathroom or on the counter, and all of a sudden it's a TikTok dance every 5 seconds, they're TikToking all of this. And that definitely makes the connection that gets them excited, that, you know, makes them want to participate. So I really love that idea. I love using milling to music as a way to like transition from one activity to the next, especially if we are transitioning from one space to the next space. Like you were in your seats, now I need you to transition to the back of the room. I play music and we do milling to music, right? Because it gets them engaged even in the transition. And that's the part for me where I learned the importance of planning out my lesson plans to where I'm literally incorporating these cooperative strategies in every aspect that I can. If we are lining up to go to the bathroom, guess what? We're going to utilize a cooperative strategy technique, right? If we are getting in groups, we're going to use one of these strategies. If we are transitioning from one activity to the next, I want to use one of these strategies because I'm making it fun. And it's just like they're learning during times they don't even know that they're learning, right? And it's literally keeping them engaged the entire program time. Because it's like if you have that little ounce of downtime for our young people, we can lose their attention. We can lose their attention so quickly. We can lose the momentum. We lose the energy. They lose the motivation, right? We lose their interest. We lose it all. So I love to plan out all of these things. And even when I started, utilizing this and took the time, and it definitely takes planning. It takes the time to be super intentional. But when I took the time to set it all up, my session flowed so much better. I found that it was so much easier for us to transition from one activity to another activity, from a high, energy activity to a low energy activity. It was easier for me to do that because I was intentional with how we would make those transitions. I was intentional with allowing them, time to connect with one another in a way that's just like, we got a little bit of downtime as we are gearing up. It was, especially if I know I'm going to need your full undivided attention in this next activity, I want to throw a cooperative learning strategy in there so you can get it out. You can talk, right? Like get some time so you can do that and be seen and be heard, and then transition into our downtime, our quiet time. So feel free to utilize these and, add to these as you choose to all. And I'm really excited, that we've had the time to share those. I'm going to close that up and now I'm going to share this presentation again. All right. So again, utilize these group formers, utilize these group structures, as you need to, and as what makes sense for you, right? Like I encourage you to utilize them at so many different points in your programming. Use them in the icebreaker, right? We use them as we're transitioning from math to literacy. Use these strategies as we are transitioning from lunch, or afternoon snack into our actual programming. So many different ways just to keep our young people engaged and give them an opportunity to, be leaders in their groups. I love the group structures. I'm gonna go back one slide really quickly. I love the group structures, like expert groups is one of my favorites, because using the term expert for them, they're like, I know all about this, right? It's just a play on language. And then rotation brainstorm, getting them up, getting them moving around. Everyone is collaborative. Everyone has an opportunity to give feedback. And it's something fun, so you don't feel like it's in a group. Those are some of my favorites. I also love doing back-to-back, at least when we were in pre-COVID, when we were in a safer environment where we actually could be that close to one another. So those were some of my favorite as far as group structures. All right, so as we are gearing up to close it out, I want to just check in with you all about these cooperative learning strategies, to say, how are you feeling about them? Are you ready to take these back and implement them? Are you just saying, hey, Siobhan, I still need to do a little bit more research on this before I feel ready to implement these? Are you still saying like, nah, I'm not really sure this is going to work, so I'm not going to implement them at all? So go ahead and type into the chat. Are you a 1, a 3, or a 5 when it comes to cooperative learning and these different strategies? Are you still having a lot of doubt? Are you learning, but you think you still get it? Or are you a 5 and like, yes, I'm ready to, like, these were great, I'm ready to go implement these strategies tomorrow? And as you all are typing in your reflection, right, letting me know where you are, I just want to say thank you so much to you all for allowing me to be here and share this space with you and have really great conversations over the course of this school year. This has been such a pleasure for me, getting to know what you all do in Kentucky and, in Louisville, learning about your programs and really just holding space with you all. So I just want to say thank you so much as we are rounding out our time together in this virtual space, but also going over these. And I hope that you all have really taken some gems and some nuggets that you will be ready to implement fully into your programs and really enhance the amazing things that you all are already doing. So I'm looking at the chat here. I got some 5s, some 3, 5, right? Somewhere between a 3 and a 5. Rose says, I'm a 5. Rose says, I'm ready, Freddie. I love it. Renee says, I'm a 4, right? But I'm always seeking learning opportunities. I love it. No one's a 1. So I'm happy to hear that. All right, I see Antonia dropped the Survey Monkey link into the chat for you all to evaluate this session. Let them know what you thought about it. Give some feedback there. We are now at the end of our session together. I wanted to try to give you all some of your time back. So it is 11:45. We'll round it out here. If you have any additional questions for me, please, I'm going to stop share. Please feel free to let me know. I am going to send this presentation to Antonio along with the link so that you all have access to the group formers and the group structures and can utilize them and implement them all on your own. Again, thank you so much. Thank you to United Way, Metro United Way, for this opportunity. It has been a pleasure. It has been a blast with you all, and hopefully we will all cross paths in the future. I'm going to kick it back over to you, Antonio.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaughn. As always, outstanding and extraordinary experience that we've had with you. Mr. Vaughn has been with us for, I think, about 2 years now. So this is our second year, for facilitating these methods training for us. And so, of course, during the pandemic, we couldn't meet, and we were like, how are we going to, continue our, learning experiences for the field and for our partners? And so she has come on, and she has been trucking right along with us throughout this pandemic. She could have been doing all kind of other things, but she has been with us. So we thank you a lot, Mr. Vaughn, for all of your service with us. And thank you all for joining us. As she mentioned, the survey is in the chat. We want to continue to offer high quality training and professional development opportunities for you all. So please, fill that survey out and let us know what you thought of this, what we can improve on, and also different, trainings that you would like to see for the future. As mentioned earlier, this is our last one for our program year. We go from August to May. And so we are super excited, that this has been a great year, but also looking forward to August. So join us again when we start back in August, and we will be reaching out to you all, through the emails and letting you all know about those opportunities. Does anybody have any questions or anything before we part?
Antonio, how do we get to the survey again?
Gotcha. I'm going to put that link in the chat. Let me
Okay.
know if you see it. I just put it in there. Do you see it?
I'm not seeing it yet.
Yes, I see the link. Survey Monkey.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there
And
you go.
do you see it, Miss Rose?
Yeah, I clicked on it, but I don't think it took me anywhere yet.
Gotcha.
Mine is still loading.
Okay, and I also put it in there once again. And it'll also be included within the email that I send with the
Okay,
report
great.
in the slides as well.
Good. That's where I
Okay.
grab it.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. This has been a pleasure. You all are great participants. It was super interactive and cooperative learning experience that we've had today. So thank you all so much, and we will see you soon.
Thank you all so much. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Thank you.